Hey, what's good, my amazing friends? Welcome to The Remedy. I am Sarah Grace. If you have not tuned in before, or if you're someone who tunes in regularly, you guys are my friends. And I am so grateful to be hanging out with you today. We're live on several platforms. And if you're catching us on the back end, maybe we're not live, but we're Memorex. Either way, I'm so grateful to be connected with you as we are creeping up to the most important election of my lifetime, of your lifetime. This one is for all the marbles. Everything will change after November 5th. And that is why normally here on The Remedy, you guys know that this show, we don't necessarily go, or we didn't used to be political. And I'm still not political. I am biblically moral based, and that is the platform that I stand on. And the kingdom of heaven is the kingdom that I want to see come, and God's will on earth as it is in heaven. Today, you guys, we have a warrior in the fight, though, for the integrity of elections here in the United States of America. I know we have listeners all over the globe, flat earth, whatever you say, on every continent we have listeners, and I just want to give you guys a shout out. I'm just so grateful that we have you guys that are looking and even care what's going on here in the United States. I know that we have many people who are looking to what is going to happen in this election season with Trump. Make America great again, make America healthy again, all of these things. But what does that actually mean? Does it mean that America has always been great and everything has been perfect all in America? No. Evil has abounded all throughout time and history. People will be peoply, right? People are sinners, and no one is perfect. But what we talk about in this country, and what many people don't realize, are the freedoms that we have come and grown accustomed to in this land in which I was born. And in this land do I have pride. I do. I'm proud of the land that we live, and while it's not perfect, I'm grateful for the United States of America, and I'm proud to be an American. And for that, we have an incredible man who has taken in his retirement to really stand firm for election integrity. You guys, I want to welcome to the stage from theflagshirt.com, Steve Stern.
Well, thank you very much.
Steve, yes, thank you so much for coming on The Remedy today. The remedy for all things we know is, and what we say here is Jesus, but we have to stand and we have to take action. And so I am so grateful to hear from you today. Can you introduce yourself and let our listeners and followers know who you are and what you stand for?
Sure. So I am not retired or semi-retired. I'm 83. I've been in business 70 years. We own the largest flag shirt company. When you say flag shirt company, it's patriotic company. Um, uh, we are the largest in the world. If you look at it, we have everything from socks to shoes to hats, everything. I always wear it when I'm on TV, and I'm on many, many programs. So what happened was 20 years ago, I started with the Broward Republican Executive Committee. Today, I am the vice chair of the Broward Republican Committee. I didn't really want to do that, but I got the chairman elected through what we call precinct strategy. So we're going to talk about, on the left side, precinct strategy, and on the right side, election security. We don't even call it election integrity anymore, because election integrity, there probably isn't any. And the Democrats and the left believe they want to get elected anyhow they can. The Republicans are faith driven, and they don't want to steal the election. They want it fair, and we're going to talk about how it could be fair and what we have to do. So there's so many things going on. It would probably take me about a day to tell it, so we'll condense it. So in the background, you see President Trump and myself. One of the pictures in his office was 2 years ago. And right before the last election, 2 days actually before the last election. Now, I'll tell you how I get up there. And it's an effort. You have to really drive yourself to do that. And fortunately, a girl took me up there to Mar-a-Lago one day. That was prior to going up there to see President Trump, but that was about a year before this. And we were sitting in Mar-a-Lago with a girl from Jexit, which is an organization, a Jewish organization that's fights anti-Semitism. And we were sitting there and having lunch, and President Trump, who normally comes through the back of the of Mar-a-Lago to go back home, for some reason came through the front. And that's, God probably came down and says, hey, I got to go through the front this time. And he did. I have no idea why he did that. Was not with the Secret Service people either. He was with a gentleman, and he looked over and he saw one of the girls who's on his staff sitting with us having lunch. And he saw Jexit, who he had just visited with about a couple of weeks ago up in Pennsylvania with a girl who works with a friend of mine. And he came over and he says, why aren't the Jewish people voting for us? And so Michelle Terrace, who's the president and founder of Jexit, said, you're wrong. The Jews are swinging over. They don't vote as much as they should, but we are getting more and more people to vote. And then I turned around to him and I said, President Trump, do you know what precinct strategy is? He said he did not know what it is. So I'm going to tell you what it is. And I started discussing with him, and he said, listen, I don't have time right now, but I would like you to make an appointment to get in to see me. And I asked him how I did that. He said, well, speak to the girl that's sitting with you because she's part of my staff and she'll help you. So she did help us get in. And what precinct strategy was, and on the opposite side, let's see, to my other side, whatever that side is right there, is when I talked to President Trump about precinct strategy. That was in the Broward Center here, where I was at an event. And he said to me, if I knew about precinct strategy prior to this, I would have won the election. And that was, of course, the 2020 election that he lost. And so we're going to talk about precinct strategy and what that is. So if you look at this and go to www.precinctstrategy.com, Dan Schultz, who founded this and worked with Steve Bannon for 14 years on precinct strategy. It tells you how to join the Republican Party, because we're going to tell you a story why people don't know and didn't know how to join the Republican Party. When I say not to join the Republican Party, I'm not talking about signing up, but for working for the party. And what the big problem is, there's 400,000 slots available. So every county and every precinct has an executive town, some type of committee where you could join, and it's part of the Republican Party. So the bad news is, 4 years ago when I started with Dan Schultz, and I'll tell you what happened, there were 400,000 slots and 200,000 people involved. Today, there's 400,000 slots and 200,000 people involved. Now it goes down, it comes up, but it stays around 200,000 or even less. And that is a shame, because we have 60 million voters who are Republicans, thereabouts. So let's say we have 40 million who are really true Republicans. Where are they? And that's one of the big problems with the Republican Party. I'm going to talk a lot about that and why the country's in the shape they're in. We don't blame the Democrats. We blame the Republicans, because they're not stepping up. The Democrats pay people to work. The Republicans want volunteers. Yeah. And that's a problem. Also, there's 20 million religious people that do not vote. So we're trying to work on those people also. So we're going to talk about my visit to President Trump and how I got involved in all this. So 20 years ago, when I signed up to join the Broward Republican Executive Committee, I called for 3 months. Not a person called me back. Finally, after 3 months, somebody called me back and said, what would you like? I said, I would like to join. Well, they said, okay, we'll get you an application. Took them 3 months to get an application to me. I said, wow, here I'm 6 months to join an organization that I wanted to join that day 6 months ago. So I said to myself, something doesn't make sense. So I sat down on the first meeting. Not a person came up to me or even told me what I was supposed to do. So I said to myself, here I'm joining an organization. They gave me no paperwork, nothing to know even what I'm supposed to do. So I waited till the next meeting. Again, nothing happened. So I went up to the chairman and I said, listen, I'd like to be the membership chairman. I'd like to take over the phone. He said, oh, that's terrific, because we don't have anybody doing it. So I went and answered the phones. There was 186 messages. I got 36 new members. And I started my way on it. And some of the chairmen over the years wanted to have more people, some wanted to have less people. So there was different avenues on how to do that. So about 4 years ago, I saw Dan Schultz on Steve Bannon. And I called him up and I said, look, we're having a lot of success in Broward County. And he said, oh, that's terrific, because Steve Bannon wants to put success stories from all around the country on the show. So he got me on. And then again, a funny thing happened because, I had never been on TV. And I got up at about 3 o'clock in the morning. They said, you're going to have to buy Skype or get Skype and go on Skype. I had no idea what Skype was. But anyway, I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning and started making notes, because my brain, while I was sleeping, said, hey, you better make some notes and know what you're talking about, because you're going to get on national TV. And I had no idea how many people are going to be on there. So anyway, they told me I'm going to be on 10:15, and they zing me at 10:15 on Skype, and I'm sitting here like I'm talking to you, and I'm in the background, but I'm on the show, but I'm not on the show. So I'm listening, and I hear it during the what's going on during the intermission, because Steve Bannon talks to some of his people, and he's talking to different people about what to say and what not to say, or you know. So I'm on at 10:15, figuring I'm going to get on, and then I'm waiting till about 10:45, and they text me saying, "Well, you're on, but just wait." Then it comes to 11 o'clock, 11:15, 11:30, and I'm sitting there sweating, just like I'm sitting here saying, "Geez, I'm already over here an hour and some time, and I've already forgot what I was going to say." So about 11:46, they put me on, and I get on, and I guess I changed what I was going to say, because at that point I had no clue what I was going to say, because it was an hour and a half. But anyway, I did a good job, and in my estimation, I told them what I wanted to say, and about 2 weeks, they had texted me and said, "Hey, it was great, and we'll send you a clip so you can see what it looked like." And they showed me how to, play it, et cetera, et cetera. And about 3 weeks later, they had me back on. And over the 3-4 years, I've been on there probably 150 times. Over the last 2 months, I've been on there many times. And one of the reasons they got me on, I became very close to Steve Bannon. Now, a lot of people ask, well, how do you become close to anybody? Well, as close as you become to Steve Bannon, because he's got thousands of people that are texting him, emailing. But I found a way, because I get up early, 5 o'clock, sometimes 4:30, and I would text them at 4:30 in the morning. And Steve Bannon is up at 4:30 in the morning. So who's texting somebody at 4:30 in the morning? Probably only me. So he would answer me and, give me, he would always answer in a 1-word, 2-word thing. He would never answer a full sentence. So in other words, if I gave him some information, great or wonderful, or, different little adjectives on the thing. So we got more and more, and I got close to the family. And when he went to jail, we produced a shirt, and we'd like everybody to buy it, because Steve Bannon is our voice, and it's Stand with Bannon. So if you go to standwithbannon.com, that's standwithbannon.com, you could get your shirt. And the reason why we promote this is Steve Bannon is in jail for talking, and they silenced him, and he's bringing information out through his brother, his daughter, his sister, so that we can follow what's going on. Because, when you do a show and you are not there anymore, the show starts to lose people, no matter how much we do. So we try to support him the most we can. And over the last month or so, we've been talking about election security and what's happening in all the areas. So let's get back to President Trump back here when I was up in his office. And the main reason I had got up to his office, there was two things. And again, a funny thing happened. I was supposed to be up there 2 weeks before this meeting. So they had canceled it. And I thought, well, he's not going to see me. But then they said, hey, I'm going to see you on this particular date. That was 2 days before the election. But we were also having an event. Michelle Terrace with Chexit and one of the other guys had an event to give President Trump an award for everything he did for Israel. And so I was up there at 4 o'clock. And the event started at 6:30, so it was plenty of time. So I was talking to him, and I explained to him that I was also going to be to the event. And he said, that's fantastic. And we were sitting there, and he was talking to his pollsters at that time. So we had Liz Harrington there, who brought me in there, actually, and about 6 of his secretaries, my wife, and my grandson. And my main reason for going up there is to ask him, because he endorsed precinct strategy, to talk about getting people involved in these rallies. And he said he would do that when he started running again. He hadn't done that up until a little while ago, and he actually changed what he was talking about. So what he was talking about, which is a very important thing, it is protectthevote.com. So what is protectthevote.com? That's to sign up for poll watchers and poll workers. So the last election, we had 100,000 poll watchers and poll workers, and I work very closely with the RNC because, as my vice chair of the Broward County Republican Party, I knew it was important to get involved with the Republican Party on a national basis. So I got them about 20, 30,000 poll watchers, poll workers. They sent me a gold star, terrific. But we are still short in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia. So if you want to be a poll watcher and poll worker, you still have time. Go to protectthevote.com. And the other thing that I work with them is on President Trump's website to get people involved. TrumpForce47.com. We got about 45,000 people working there, and we need more people because they are mostly involved in the swing states. So the swing states are important, and you know what they are. They're Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Georgia. That's predominantly the swing states, but we're also adding Texas and North Carolina this time. And on our election security calls, we've had Seth Kessel on, who has produced the 30 counties that are going to make a difference in this election. There they are right there. And the 8 states, which I talked about, but we added Nevada in there. So we're talking about the 8 states with the most important counties is Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Wisconsin, Georgia, Texas, and North Carolina. We added Nevada because, as you know, Nevada is kind of a semi-swing state, but they don't have a lot of electoral votes, so it's not that significant, but it's very big problem on election security. So those are the areas. And as I talked to President Trump, I asked him off the cuff, would you endorse a couple of my candidates? He said, well, it's late. It's only a couple of days before the election, but let's see who they are. And he called his pollster. He said one was in New Hampshire and one was in Vermont. Mr. Malloy, Gerald Malloy, was running for Congress at that time. And he says to his pollster, how do they stand? He said, well, they don't have a good chance. They're down about 5 points. And he asked me what I thought. I said, well, they're 2 good gentlemen, and we should get their support. Well, he actually endorsed both of them, and they actually lost. But they are one of them is running. Gerald Malloy is running for Senate against Bernie Sanders. And that's a big race because, it doesn't have a great chance, but Bernie Sanders is so far to the left that there's a lot of people in Vermont that are switching their vote, and our guy has a good chance. So we talked a lot about that. He gave me about 45 minutes, and it was a great meeting. But what you said when we first started was very important. What he said, he said, well, we're not in socialism anymore. We're in communism. And over the last 2 years, you saw what they did to President Trump. Mm-hmm. And he's lucky he's alive. So as we ended the conversation, he said to Steve, I know you do a precinct strategy Zoom meeting because he had Liz Harrington told him. And for my birthday, he sent me a beautiful letter thanking me for what I'm doing, which is a great honor because a lot of people say, well, Steve, why are you working 7 days a week, 14 hours a day? I said, well, look, this is the most important election. And I see that the communication in this country is not that great. So I tried to help. And that's what I did. So he said to me, what do you think about the 2024 election? And I said, well, look, I'm not sure if anything has changed because we know what happened in the last election. But now may have a problem, which at that point when we were talking, we didn't discuss it. But we see now that the illegal aliens could be able to vote. And it's a funny thing also that happened was I saw my doctor last week for a checkup. And I said, Dr. Feist, I need your phone number. He said, well, why do you need your phone number? So I want to put something on your phone. I have his email, and we've been close because I know him for 50 years. And he said, sure. And he said, what are you putting on? I said, well, I'm putting on a thing telling about how all the illegals are voting. He said, wait a minute. How can the illegals vote? Now, here's a guy that wrote 4 books. He's a doctor, a very intelligent guy, and he's a Republican. Did not know that the Democrats a year ago said, we're going to get all these illegals to vote. So just to tell your audience how illegals can vote or how they can try to vote, here's what happens. The NGOs, which stands for non-government organizations, when the people come in from Texas or Arizona or Canada or wherever they're coming in from, and they're also coming in on flights. A lot of people don't know that there's 10 or 12 airports that every night 200 are coming into every airport. Think about this. We are getting the world into our country. Now, if you think there's 10 million people that came in or 20 million people, many of my people say, hey, it's close to 35 million. So when all these people come in, the NGOs put them on a bus. They bring them, let's say, to Illinois. And then the NGOs, which are a lot of churches and organizations that Obama set up, they get them to get a driver's license. When you get a driver's license, you're able to get a thing to vote, how to register to vote. And on
Right.
the little paper that you signed, there's a thing that says, are you an U.S. citizen? Well, the NGOs tell them, just check it off. It doesn't matter because they're not going to know what it is. Most of them don't speak English, so they have no clue what they're doing. So they sign it and they send it in. Now they're registered to vote. Also, there's a website where you can go on, which your last 4 digits of your social security number, which is outrageous. And you could also sign up to vote. So there's 2 ways easily that these people, and they don't know what they're doing. Basically, it's the NGOs. The NGOs are going to get their ballot because then they ship them to another state. And the same thing happens. They register in another state. And therefore, we have duplicate registrations. And the NGOs are getting their ballots because they're being shipped to the address that they told them, which is usually a church, a school, or a home, or wherever. So that's some of the ways. Now, the red states are working on getting them off. But let's face it, where do we have to worry? But Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Let's take those 3 states. The secretaries of states are not going to do anything to get these people off the voter roll. So we have a big thing going on. And in Georgia, the Secretary of State just said he's putting signs everywhere that if you vote and you're an illegal citizen, you will be arrested and you will be prosecuted and sent back to your country. Now, if we did that in every state, it would be good. So we're going to have an elections security call. So I started about 3 weeks after President Trump had asked me to get involved. And when we started that, we had about 50 people on our first one. And it takes a lot to do a call. And I ran this for 2 years now, every 2 to 3 weeks. 4 months ago, when I was on Steve Bannon in the morning, around 10:15, he did something a little different. I had never put up my email on the bottom of the screen like I have it on there. What I would do, I'm an old school guy. I would have you see me with all these signs. A lot of producers, a lot of shows say, hey, Steve, you're the only guy in the world that's doing it. Well, I'm an old guy. And I know our older clientele, a lot of times they look at this thing, but they don't remember or they don't take a photograph of it. Now it's flashing on the bottom of your screen continuously. So it's pretty difficult not to see it. And that's what happened with Steve Bannon. It was on there in the morning, and I got 1,000 people had emailed me, and I was flabbergasted because it took me 4 hours to send them links to get on our show. So what happened after that? Steve usually gave me about 6 or 7 minutes. He gave me about 8 or 10 minutes. And as we ended, he said to me, we're going to put this live on our Getter feed and our Rumble feed. Now, as an 83-year-old guy, you have to learn something every day. And what I learned was, wow, why didn't I think of this? So he put it on live. We had about 45,000 people come on that day. And another girl, Melissa Redpill, she put it on live. She's a podcaster, and she got about 28,000 people. So now I said to myself, woo, this is unbelievable. So I said, well, how are we going to get more people to do this? So I started asking everybody for friends who were podcasters, who had shows, radio, TV, it didn't matter where. And about 2 weeks ago, we had a podcast and we had some terrific people on, and we had over 800,000 people on it. Now think about this, me, little old me, getting all our friends like you together for communication to get that many people on. Now, one of the guys broadcast, and you just said you have people all over. Well, he had people come in from Russia, from Philippines, from different areas that we had never gotten. I also have a guy in London that's putting it live. So now we're getting people all over the world, Canada, Mexico. People all have the same problem everywhere. You know, it's every time you see an election, it's not always all fair. So what we're doing is we're getting this week coming up. Actually, it's next week, the 9th. You know, one day to me goes into the next. I have no idea what day it is. As hard as I do, and you're on as many shows, it's like day and night. So next Wednesday, the 9th of October, And then the following Wednesday, we normally don't do this, but the election's coming up close. So we have so many people that want to speak that we're going to have 2 in a row. We're going to have one on the 9th and one on the 16th. So I'm going to tell you who's going to be on the 9th. If you'd like to get on, you can email me at sstern1054@gmail.com. It's going to be the 9th at 2 o'clock Eastern time. We ask everybody to come on 1:50. Also, you can see it live going to my Rumble channel, and it's Stern American Rumble. You can go to sternamericannews.com, sign up. Stern American Rumble, sign up. You can see it live there, or you can send me an email to get the link. So we're going to have some spectacular people on. We're going to have General Flynn open up the thing. He's threatened to come on a few times, but got tied up. But this time he says, I'm coming on because the country's hanging by a thread. We're going to have Maureen Bannon coming on, who's going to talk about her father, what's happening in jail, because we want to always know what's happening with him and how he is. We're going to have Marley Hornick, who has a big operation and a lot of lawsuits going on. We're going to have my friend Mel K from the Mel K Show. I just had dinner with her over the last weekend, and she got us on the last Zoom 22,000 people. We're going to have my friend Liz Harrington, who used to be President Trump's spokesman. We're going to have Dr. Robert Epstein in. Dr. Robert Epstein, a lot of people don't know about him, but I went out to San Diego, had lunch with him. I saw him on a Zoom meeting, got him on a Zoom meeting about a year ago. He's talking about, and he's a Democrat, how Google swayed the last election between 2 and 5 million people. And he's going to be talking about how he's stopping that with 11,000 people working. Then we're going to have Kerry Talasco. She's going to be talking about only legal voting. And then we're going to have Cleta Mitchell, who is a dynamite person and has one of the largest election security operations going. And every Friday I'm on her Zoom where she has 82 to 90 of the top people in the country. Then we're going to have my close friend, Mike Lindell. He's going to be talking about his cause for America and what he's doing. Then we're going to have Catherine Engelbrecht, who is True to Vote. And then we're going to have Jenny Beth Martin, who's got a new app. And I don't remember it that well, so I'm going to use a little sheet here. It's called marchtovictory.com. She's the head of the Tea Party. And if you go to winelections.com, you can see that. And what that is it's going to try to help get another 9% people signed up to vote. Now, in some of the states, we don't have a lot of time, so it's going to be very difficult. But we got to get the people to, one, sign up to vote. You can't vote if you're not registered, except in some crazy states like New Hampshire, where you could actually register the same day. You could walk up to the polls, register, and vote, which makes no sense, but because how are they going to check you out? So these are some of the great people that are going to be on. I would say this is the biggest election security meeting I've ever had with the top people in the country. So you're getting to see all the organizations that are helping you. Now, we need help because they can't do it all by themselves. Now, some of these organizations have 200,000 people involved, 100,000. Mike Lindell says he's got 300,000. Cleta Mitchell's got 50,000. True to Vote could have 300,000. So we have a lot of organizations that are working hard. A lot of people don't know it. I always talk about Moms for America. They got 500,000 people helping us. But here's the problem. There's no communication between all of them. So my job, and we're going to have 60 podcasters putting this live. We want to have 1 million people on it. And we want to build this thing to the next one is 2 million people. And some of the people that are helping us, unbelievable. I have a girl in California, Tina Celine, who saw me on Bannon about a year and a half ago. And she said, Steve, can you help turn California red? I said, hey, look, I'm good, but I'm not that good. You know what I'm saying? Let's try. You know what I mean? See, you never give up. You always try. So we talked to 100 people. Then we talked to 500. Then she got me 10,000 people. Now, I didn't speak to all 10,000, but each of these people had 100, 300 organization, and they got the communication. I spent 6 months working with them, and we left it over to Tina and all the other people to work on, and they're doing a terrific job. Then we have a guy named Robert West. He's got a thing called the 5-Star Plan. And the 5-Star Plan is replacing politics with patriots. He got 1,000 people in Texas, in your state, to sign up for the Republican Party. And we do have other people. Aubrey Campbell is working hard in Texas. So we do have a lot of people in Texas working hard to change all that stuff going on. Then we have a very close friend of mine. You may know him. I think you do. YourNews.com. Sam Anthony. He is helping. Tell everybody, get the app. Go to YourNews.com. every day he has all our podcasters, whatever, whenever they're live, he puts it on, or you've got to put it on. Very important. Another important thing, which and the reason why I put my email on there is because if you have a question, I want to answer it. And I try to get to you within a day, but we get a lot of calls. Very important. So we have a guy, Johnny V, very close to him, working with him for 4 years. VotifyNow.org. VotifyNow.org is a top app. You can get it in the Apple Store. It's free. And if you see somebody that when you go to the polls that there's a problem, you just put it in and it goes to the authority. Now, what I spoke to him this morning, he told me something very interesting. They have used AI now to find out all these different scenarios. They put into AI all these things that happen in the election and how we can stop some of this from happening. And I just found that out today, so it's very important. And I want to tell you, if you become a precinct strategy person, what you have to do, because it's very important. So precinct strategy, again, www.precinctstrategy.com. You attend meetings, you vote. You become a voter where you can vote for your people and you can get the heads of the Republican Party in your state elected. You sign up voters, you canvass neighborhoods, you poll watch, you make phone calls. So these are all the things that our election people talk. As you hear, I'm getting a little hoarse, so I only have X amount of time, so I want to give you a chance to ask a couple of questions, and then we'll call it a day.
Well, so much incredible information. And Steve, I'm so grateful that you came on. And for, the people that are watching right now, we do have people that are on, and I just want to say hello and thank you so much for tuning in. A lot of our listeners are biblically based, or Christians, or people seeking. And so, like you were saying earlier, and it's very shocking that many religious people, as you would say, Christians, maybe people of other faiths, they don't go out and vote. And Steve, I want to throw that to you and ask you, why do you think that is? But to those watching, why do you think that is? I know that I can explain it from my perspective as somebody who is in ministry. But what do you think about that, Steve?
Well, I think what I heard was a lot of the pastors tell people not to get involved. Why that is, I don't know. There's also people who are lazy. They don't want to do it. And some people care less. They're not into politics. They don't care what happens. They go about their daily day just trying to earn a living. But this is the most important election. If you want to be Venezuela, yes, don't come out to vote. And in Venezuela, my wife plays bridge. She's a big bridge player. She has friends from Venezuela. They tell her horror stories. And we don't realize what's happening, but many people in Venezuela have come to the United States. They also go to Colombia. They leave through the border. They've lost millions of people in Venezuela, but they've also shipped us all the criminals, all the mentally ill, right across the border, and we take them. And this country is in terrible shape. But because a lot of people listen to the left-leaning media, and we have George Soros, who's buying up all the radio stations. What does that tell you? He has thrown off all the conservative people. So it's up to our podcasters to bring the message. Now, we are signing up. I think there was 20 million people that have that don't vote. We've signed up about 1 million. We have Faith and Freedom that's working on it. They're working around the clock. I have good friends in that, and they're telling us that they're doing a terrific job. But we need more people to sign up. If you're ever going to vote, this election is so important, because if you think that you want to be in communism and you don't understand, look at what they've done to President Trump. They've indicted him erroneously in 4 states. You see everything is being overturned, but they don't care about that because it's already happened. Now, hopefully President Trump gets in and he prosecutes all those people that prosecuted him for illegally prosecuting. And the courts are saying that. Why? The one in New York is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard. But see, they knew that was going to happen. But now they're advertising he's a convicted felon.
Right. You see that all the time. How could you, as a Christian, and I've heard this from people directly to me, how could me, as a Christian, support someone who's a convicted felon, 91 felony convictions, or, whatever the media has spun that people have ingested and believe? And, in these countries that have fallen to communistic governments, all throughout time and history, we have seen them prosecute, political prisoners. And very often, even now, people are talking about bread lines. And if we've just lived through 4 years where we've seen grocery stores and prices skyrocket, and people still don't believe it. And as a believer and a Christian, yes, I get it. I used to not be at all into politics at all. I was raised in a hippie town, in a Christian hippie commune. I could not have cared less. Democrat, Republican, taxes, no taxes. I don't care about any of that. Nothing ever changes. This is the most important election of our lifetime, and I will say why. If you are a Christian, if you look at the countries that have gone and fallen to communism, it's not just breadlines that you have to worry about. You like your freedom to worship and go to Bible study on Wednesday night openly and talk about scripture and talk about Jesus, even at the coffee shop down the street. That is gone under those regimes. They do not like the name of Jesus. The name of Jesus is a threat to the demonic agenda. And I'm speaking to fellow believers who would say, I don't care about politics. You know what? I don't care about politics either. But I care about the kingdom of God, and I care about standing for biblical morality. Whether or not you choose in your life to stand for biblical morality, that's the choice that I have in my life. And I'm grateful to live in a country where I can. And if I want to remain that way, I have to stand up. They've turned politics into, they've taken moral issues and made them political, so that you who don't care about politics, you don't talk about them. It's totally propaganda. Morality is still morality. The truth is still the truth. Everything else is just opinion. And so to my fellow believers out there, please, you need to stand up and you need to go to the polls and you need to vote. You need to vote. And yes, votes still matter in this country. I used to not think so. I used to think, my tinfoil hat, that I have my other trucker hat that says my other hat is tinfoil. You guys know that I am a proud tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. But I will tell you this, votes in this country still matter. They still matter. And if they didn't matter, they wouldn't try to steal the vote. They wouldn't try to rig the vote the way that it is. They wouldn't try to if it didn't matter. So please stand up, go to the polls and vote like your life depends on it, because it does. And I know people may say, oh, Sarah, it's not that big of a deal. It is. It is the biggest deal right now.
Well, I always end up with action, action, action. Let's get people involved. Thank you very much for having me, Sarah, and it's been a pleasure.
Steve, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so grateful to have had you here. And I hope that you guys listening out there have taken this to heart. And, you've heard it from Steve. You heard it from our other guests that are in the middle of this fight, how important this election is. In a couple weeks, we're coming down to the wire. And this is it. This is for all the marbles. And so you guys, I just am imploring you to take this as serious as it really is. So you guys know that I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, peace.